Happening now, House leaders are speaking up on Capitol Hill as lawmakers are kicking off one of the busiest legislative periods of President Trump's second term. And they'll be making decisions that could impact everyday Americans in a big way. House members have been tasked with finding $1.5 trillion, yes, $1 trillion in spending cuts. But many people fear that number is only achievable by gutting very crucial programs like Medicaid and Social Security, something the House Speaker Mike Johnson has vowed not to do. Let's discuss this and more with Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. He's the author of an important new book entitled Turnaround, America's Revival. Senator, thanks very much for coming in. Thanks very much for writing this excellent new book.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
I hope it's helpful in the national conversation.
It's going to be very helpful. I want to talk about it, but let's talk about some of the issues that are ongoing right now. You're watching all of this unfold. President Trump's approval rating for his first 100 days, as you've seen in all these polls, not just the CNN poll, is the lowest of any president in at least 70 years since modern polling actually began. Does he need to rethink seriously the way he's approaching his second term, given the fact his numbers are going down on the economy, national security, other critical issues?
Yeah, he's been very focused on the long-term results, trying to be able to open up trade agreements around the world. And he put tariffs, obviously, globally around the world and said, I want everyone to come to the table and to be able to negotiate. This is a high-risk, high-reward strategy that he's put in place.
Is he doing the right thing with these tariffs?
Well, he's starting to negotiate. That's very helpful on this. And I think this is going to be one of those things history is going to write, not actually the newspaper today is going to write.
But a lot of agricultural farmers in your state, in Oklahoma, are suffering right now as a result of what President Trump is doing.
No, the ag folks are not suffering in my state right now because of that. They're suffering because of the high inflation that they've experienced the last several years on it. Every single product has gone up significantly, whether it be the diesel in their tractors, the tractor itself, all the equipment, all the inputs. Fertilizer has gone just skyrocketed in the last 4 years. They're actually hopeful. When I talked to the ag folks in the last 2 weeks as I was traveling around the state, around that Easter gap that we had, the ag folks are very hopeful to say we want to open up new markets that we've not been able to get access to.
But Oklahoma's agricultural exports to various countries have really gone down, haven't they?
They've not had new markets, and that's been their challenge. Under the Biden administration,
they
would
forget
not
about the new markets. What about the existing markets, like China, for example?
Sure, yeah, that's one of the issues that President Trump had actually in his first administration, making a deal with China to be able to say, you got to buy more soybeans, you got to do this. China didn't fulfill that, but there's a lot of others. Australia doesn't take our beef, for instance. We have issues with Argentina. We have the UK doesn't want to take our chicken. They say it has chlorinated chicken on it. They don't want to be able to take that, even if it's unchlorinated chicken, for cleansing on it. So all these different trade barriers that we have around the world, the ag folks are very specific. Open those up. We want to be able to trade more around the world. The goal of this should be have a tariff fight where we bring everyone to the table, have negotiations, open up more markets, then have low tariffs. I do not want to see high tariffs at the end of this. I want to see low tariffs and trade barriers go down.
The American public is beginning to sour big time on Republican control of Washington, according to these latest new polls. In our CNN poll just out today, 58% say unified Republican control of Congress and the White House is bad for the country. What's your reaction to that?
I would say there's a lot of people just reaction to where the tariffs are right now and trying to be able to figure out where we're going to go. What we're trying to be able to work on currently is trying to be able to reduce federal spending, which we've got to do. We still have $2 trillion in overspending just this year. If we have the tax revenue coming in right now and the revenue we had even before COVID, we would be in balance right now, but we're not. The spending went up during COVID and then never came back down again. And Americans feel that. That drives inflation, drives everything else. So we got to reduce spending. We got to be able to settle the tax policy. That's the task. By the time we finish July, we've got to have tax policy done.
In our new poll, 56% of the American people say Congress isn't doing enough to enforce checks and balances on President Trump. Do Republicans need to reconsider their lockstep support for his agenda?
So there's two ways to be able to handle checks and balances. One is to go out and do big press conferences and meetings, and the other ones that go privately to people to be able to sit down and say, how do we actually solve this? Let's actually do input. You'll find a lot of Republicans that are, when they have concerns, when they have questions, they're going to administration officials behind the scenes saying, let me give you some ideas. We are seeing the administration engaging with Congress in ways that we have not seen recently. The real rapid check and balance, whether Republican or Democrat, is always the court. That's the rapid check and balance. When Congress actually does something, the president still has to sign it. So the check and balance to the executive branch is always the judicial branch first, and then it's a matter of processing it through the law.
In these latest poll numbers, Americans also have clearly they've gone south as far as Trump's decisions on the economy, which is of course so important for people out there. You've expressed optimism that Trump eventually will be able to land some major new trade deals, but he hasn't done that yet. How long are you willing to wait?
So this has only been a month in the process. Trade deals are exceptionally complicated. He's opened up a lot of trade deals around the world. I would think he's going to land countries like Israel, India, Vietnam fairly rapidly because those are major trading partners for us that we have very significant engagement with. But India, for instance, has had huge trade barriers for us. Very high tariffs on American products. They block out things like corn. There's lots of different products that they just block out entirely on it. We need to be able to open those markets up. This is the largest democracy in the world. We should be a very active trade partner with them, and we're not.
It's interesting. At the White House briefing earlier this morning, they had an early morning briefing, the White House said this report that Amazon is now adding a tariff charge, and they're calling it a hostile and political act on the part of Amazon. They're really going after Amazon for telling the American public, you know, you're paying X amount of money for this product, but a certain percentage of that is the result of these tariffs that have been imposed. How do you see it? Does that show that this is an act of transparency for the American public to see where their money is going, or is this a hostile and political act, as the White House says?
It'll be interesting. I haven't seen how Amazon's going to roll that out. Obviously, that's been noted that they're going to do it. I haven't actually been able to see it on their site. I think what they'll see a lot of times is some products that are made in China or other products that are made in America, and it'll also give Americans the opportunity to be able to see one versus the other, the origin where it's coming from, or to be able to note if this is coming from a place that has lower tariffs or higher tariffs on it. Americans often want a choice. They want to know. That's why we label all of our fruits and vegetables that are coming in. What country did this come from, that country of origin? People just want to be able to have that kind of insight. If it allows greater transparency, I don't have a problem with it. If it's a political action, there are a lot of big companies that have made a mistake getting into politics on it, and they suffer because half the country got frustrated with them on it.
Before